if you are thinking about like who I am today and how do I become my future self, right? What does my future self look like? What is my goal?
Yeah.
What do I want to achieve?
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
this happens especially for women in different phases of their lives.
Yes, yes.
So it's more like building from where you are today to where you want to go.
Yeah. Hello everyone, this is Dr. Din and I am here today basically discussing a couple of very, very important things. And please say, first of all, hello to my friend and also one of my mentors and business. You have supported us for such a long time through. So, Eileen, I am going, I have like this write up that I'm going to speak for her right now. And basically, to introduce her, it's her bio. So basically, prior to becoming a certified life coach, Eileen spent the last 3 decades as a counselor and an educator in high schools and higher education institutions like colleges, right?
Colleges, yeah.
After working directly with adolescents and their families and instructing future educators and counselors to do the same, Eileen feels that coaching others using a growth mindset and aligned action has always been a natural part of her work. As a coach, she draws on countless opportunities where she has gained valuable insight into the needs and aspirations of individuals at different stages of their lives, whether it be personal or professional. As a certified life coach, she brings all of this knowledge to her coaching practice. So first, I'd like to clarify what coaching is and how is it different from counseling or therapy. Can you explain the difference, Eileen?
So the difference between coaching and counseling, and I've done both, counseling and therapy, or any kind of like therapeutic intervention, is more about working with the client. And the best way to describe that is to think of it as archaeology, right? So in archaeology, you're digging up and you're trying to figure out things from the past. So with counseling and therapy, it's the same idea. You're digging into the past and you're discovering things that maybe experiences that you've had that affect the way that you operate today, right? People who have trauma in their life, right, might have developed behaviors that initially, when they had the trauma, worked for them, but as they grow older, the behaviors become unproductive for them, right? So they need to start making changes. So therapy can help you to go back and look at all of that. Coaching is more like architecture. You're building, right? So you're starting from where you are today, who you are today, and it's always very future focused and centered on client goals. So if you are thinking about like who I am today and how do I become my future self, right? What does my future self look like? What is my goal?
Yeah.
What do I want to achieve?
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
this happens especially for women in different phases of their lives.
Yes, yes.
So it's more like building from where you are today to where you want to go.
Yeah, yeah.
Without looking at the past, it's just from today and what's the goal, where do you want to go, and how do we get there?
The little steps.
Yes,
to get.
and trusting that your client always has the answers.
So your client is the adolescent child who is still whose mind is not yet completely formed,
Right.
and they're in the process of becoming a version of themselves, and
Correct.
they have all these external stimuli between parents and schoolmates and friends and enemies or whatever. It's a
Right, so that's, yes, and I've done a lot of work with that, but the client could also be the mother.
the parent. So your
Right.
client is the parent.
So my
Who's
client
asking,
for coaching,
okay.
right, is my ideal client for coaching are women who are looking for coaching to make improvements in their lives or reach new goals, right? And a lot of that happens for women, and I'll go into this more later, because we go through a lot of transitions in life,
Yes.
right? So one of the transitions that might happen is a woman might raise her family, give up her career, and then get to the point in her life where she launches her kids, and now it's her and her husband who have been distracted from each other for 20 years because it's been all about the kids and the family, and now they're kind of like looking at each other and have to rediscover who they are or rediscover their relationship. Not just that, but the woman might decide, okay, this has been my purpose for the last 20 years, to raise my family. That becomes your identity as a woman.
Yeah.
And as we get older, I think women have difficulty figuring out, okay, what do I want to do next?
Yeah.
And that's where the coaching comes in.
I see. So it's both women as well as children.
No, I don't work with children. No, I worked with adolescents as a counselor.
Okay.
And I worked in graduate school teaching counselors how to become counselors.
I see.
But moving to coaching is more working with adult women.
Ah, I see.
So for instance, I have a client who has decided that she wanted to leave her career and go back to grad school.
Nice.
Right? So helping her to figure out how to frame her story, because she had a very successful career in the fashion industry, and she built a whole business, right? But she had a really negative experience when she went to college as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old. She didn't perform as well as she did in her business, right? So in thinking about how do you frame that story, right? And helping her to see that just because her college experience wasn't positive, let's draw on the positive experiences that you had building this business, because you did that, right? You did all of that work. So you are capable, and how do we take that and apply it now to your next step and your goal of going to graduate school?
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Eileen, this is fascinating, and I do feel that if things do not, your future versions of yourself, if they do not already, if you have not imagined them, it'll be hard for you to reach them sometimes, you know, so you have to be able to, so that's where your assistance comes in, that, you know, imagine and then take the small steps that lead you to it.
Yes.
And be patient and be persistent.
Yes.
And that's the only way to reach your version without letting yourself go.
Right.
It can be hard and it can be tricky, and I totally get it. You know, it's such what an important part you're playing.
Well, you know, it's also, there's an accountability piece to it. And you hear this from a lot of health coaches, right?
I see.
Where if you want to do something, if you want to start exercising, right, and changing your body, that's going to take time, right? And as we get older, that takes more time, right? Because our bodies don't bounce back as fast. But if you have somebody, if you have a friend, like if you and I decide, okay, we're going to go take a gym class on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 o'clock, there's a class at the local gym, we're both going, right? Better chance I'm going to show up if you're going. You know what I mean? So with coaching, there's also an accountability piece, because you're going to be checking back in with the person the following week and kind of reassess what happened that week and what changes you might need to make for the next week, so that you're always moving towards your goal.
I 100% agree with that, because I take yoga classes on Sunday, and all the days that whenever I miss that class, it's not like I'm doing it myself. So I do need that accountability to say, hey, you know, and it's something that I've realized that I can't do it by myself. So I have to go and find my yoga teacher and my breathwork teacher, who sits and makes us do it for like an hour and whatever.
Exactly.
And it's so important, you know.
Yeah.
I totally agree. So accountability as with the coach would probably propel your business to, or whatever you're getting to it's like getting in a system. And then having that person work with you on it.
Exactly. And it's always, and it's never about my goal for you as a coach. It's always about your goal and helping you to get there.
Nice.
And knowing that you have the answers that you need to get there. It's a way of asking questions, reflective questions, to help you to arrive at the answers.
Wow. You mentioned the two techniques you use in coaching, growth mindset and aligned action. Tell me more about this.
So I'll tell you about growth mindset first. So there's two different mindsets that people have, either fixed or growth, right? So a fixed mindset, I'll give you an example. I think that's the best way to explain this. Let's say you have and I've had this situation, a student athlete, right? And the student athlete is very sure that they should be on the varsity basketball team. So they try out and they don't make the team. And they don't make the varsity team, but they make the junior varsity team, right? So in their mind, if it's a fixed mindset, they might say, well, how did I not make the team? I mean, I should have been on that team. Or they might blame some external thing like, you know, the coach is playing favorites, or, you know, I had a bad day, or whatever it might be. Rather than with a growth mindset, taking responsibility for where you're at, right? And saying, okay, I thought I was good enough for the varsity team, but I'm not. But I have an opportunity to play on the junior varsity team, so I'm going to take that opportunity and I'm going to get better, right? Because I didn't reach my goal yet to be on the varsity team, so I have more work to do. So what that person might do then is say, okay, I'm going to learn from the people on the varsity team. I'm going to watch, I'm going to observe, I'm going to learn and see what it is that they can do that I can't do yet. And yet is very important. In a growth mindset, believing that you can't do it yet is very key, because if you believe that I can't do it, I can't do that, or I don't like that, or I don't like change, or I don't, you know, then you're stuck or you're fixed, right? But if you put the word yet in there, then that changes your brain to know that you don't have what you need to be where you want to be. So there's some work to do. And then how do you do that work, right? So it's about practice, right? So you practice until you get better. You don't practice once you're better. You practice to get better.
Right? And stay at it. It's like basketball.
And you learn. And you learn from other people. So that's the growth mindset, is you're always learning from others. So you're learning from those people on the varsity team, and you're watching what they're doing, you're observing, and you're emulating and learning what those behaviors are that you need to have to get to your future self, which is to be on the varsity team. So that's the difference between growth and fixed mindset.
Okay. And what is aligned action?
So aligned action is once you decide what your goal is, right? And let's say, we'll use another example. I work with a woman who wants to go to the gym, but has a motivation problem, right? So we talk through what the
That might be me. That woman is me. Oh, okay.
I think that woman is all of us.
All right. Well, let me just clarify here that we're like, all right.
So she wants to go to the gym.
Motivation to go to the gym? You'll have to drag me. I'll be that, you know, the puppy who's like sitting and you have to drag. You'll have to carry me to the gym.
Here's the thing with motivation. You can't count on that. You can't count on motivation. Because one day you might be motivated and the next day you might not. Right? So how do you push through not being motivated? So what are the behaviors? So this client, the behaviors were, she didn't have her clothes ready at night. She didn't do any prep work with her meals, right, in the morning. So she had to get up. Her thing was to go to the gym before work. So some of the changes that we were able to come up with was take your gym clothes and lay them out, right? And in the morning, have your water bottle ready, right? Have your protein drink ready for after the gym, right afterwards, whatever you need to do. So if you want to make changes and you just get up and think it's going to happen, it's not going to happen. There's some prep work, and there's work that's involved beforehand before you get to change the behavior. So it's all these little steps of changing the behavior to reach your goal. So the aligned action, let me just go back to that. So the aligned action is, okay, my goal is to go to the gym on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings, right? What are the actions that I need to align to that goal? What are the behaviors that I need to put in place to reach that goal? Right? Because if I keep doing the same thing, I'm not going to get there. And that's where the coaching comes in, helping you to develop that plan of action
becoming
your
that.
goal.
So do you only help them make that plan, or do you also become like a partner in with them where
It's kind of like a
yeah,
thought
it's a
partner.
yeah,
It's a
okay,
thought partner,
it's okay.
right?
You
So
become that voice of sanity for that person.
yes, but never advising.
Okay.
Always helping them
Uh-huh.
to, because what will happen with coaching is that if somebody is resistant to an idea and they could say, I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried this, I might say something like, well, what else do you think you could try that might work?
Yeah.
Right? That question will spark another idea in them that maybe somebody else hasn't asked. And
Yeah.
then they will say, well, I could lay my clothes out at night.
Yeah.
And that's where you believe that the client always has the answers.
They have the
You're just-
solution. They're just not
Yes, because
accessing
we
them.
all have the solutions.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? We
yeah,
all
yeah,
know
yeah.
this.
Yeah,
Right?
the
We just
answers
need help.
already exist.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
That makes sense. I get it. Wow.
Yeah.
We all need you.
Yes.
I don't know how you'll get me to the gym, but I don't know.
Well, you're doing yoga.
Oh yeah, yes.
Right?
I love
and you do it
yoga.
consistently.
No, so what I did was that I made David, who's very good with taking long walks and figuring out like how many steps he's taken and stuff. So I tell him to make sure that every time he's going out to invite me,
Okay.
so
that's-
to motivate
yes.
me or invite me at least so that I can,
Right.
just have like a partner so I can go and
And that's a great
Yeah,
technique because
yeah.
then you own the responsibility
Yes.
of saying yes or no.
yes,
It's
I
not
do get
his-
yes, exactly.
It's not him. You
Yes.
own that
Yes.
responsibility. And that's
Yes.
also what part of coaching
Yes.
is. It's owning the responsibility
Yes.
for where we're at
Yes.
and what we need to do
Yes.
to make changes.
Really cool. So that was your aligned action. Is
Yes.
should a person be willing to change their mindset before you can assist?
Absolutely.
So do you ever meet somebody and they're so fixed in their mindset that you're like, I'm sorry, I can't take you as a client?
Yes. So that
How
that-
long do you try before you give up?
I had a client recently who I worked with for probably about 10 sessions and realized that this is not there's no follow through, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be careful because then there becomes a conflict because then you move into this counseling role, right? Where
Yeah.
they just want to keep talking about the problem
Yeah.
and more solution focused, right?
Yeah.
So we have to get to the solution. If the person is unwilling
Yeah.
to make a change, it might be because, they set the goal too high.
Yeah.
It might be, and that's what I started to discover initially
Mm-hmm.
was that, we set a goal and they couldn't even take a step toward the goal.
Yeah.
So then I have to readjust and say, okay, this is really baby steps. So let's
Yeah.
step back. But every time I readjusted and stepped back, there was another excuse for why they couldn't do it or they didn't do it. And it was all the external,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it was all other things that were going on outside.
Yeah.
And then you know that the person is really not
Yeah.
ready to take responsibility for where they're at and where they want to go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and that's the whole part, right? So
Maybe every counselor should also be a coach.
well, it's interesting because I think in a lot of counseling, like I worked with teenagers, and a lot of my work was around applying to colleges, right?
Oh yeah.
So that's a transition in their lives, and it's a big transition, and everybody's involved. The students involved, the families involved, and I mean the whole family. Aunts, uncles, everybody is interested in where this kid's going, and not everybody's goals are always aligned, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was always about what's best for the student. What do they want, right?
You're saying that if they're not willing to change their mindset,
Right. So
then it's very difficult because they'll always blame some external
Correct, like I said,
stimulus or
right,
some
stimuli-
excuse or
Exactly.
something that will
So
come up
it's
so
like
that they
this-
can stay stuck in their situation.
yes. So
Yeah.
it's like the student athlete.
Yeah.
Right? Fixed mindset. Okay, I'm going to quit the team because
Yeah.
I didn't get on the
Yeah.
varsity, and the
Yeah.
coach is playing
Yeah.
favorites, or I had
Yeah.
a bad day,
Yeah.
or I should have.
Yeah.
Right? No responsibility.
Yeah.
Growth mindset.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take the opportunity they're
Yeah.
offering me, and I'm going to
Yeah.
go on the junior varsity, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to get better.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's the and then after so not only the growth mindset, but then after that you have to have aligned action towards
Correct.
your goals.
Correct.
All right.
So
All right.
you have, and that's where the behavior changes come in, right? Because the action steps are very important, and the client defines all of that.
All of that, yeah.
As a coach,
Yeah.
I just help them to figure out what those things are for them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Eileen, thank you so much.
Thank
I
you for
think
having
between you and me, like we do kind of the same thing, helping people align and not only come in alignment with the future versions of themselves, but also to maintain it. Because
maintain
throughout
it.
their lifespan, because I feel that we all go through these transitions and changes every 7 to 10 years. And because our external circumstances change, our internal chemistry changes, and through experience, we, get to know ourselves better. But it's always amazing to have somebody who can provide us an insight into when we, need our,
And the thing I think also that you and I have in common is working with women.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I'm dedicated to working with women.
Yes.
And if you think about it, right, for women, it's really the shifts that we go through in life. So we might start our career, right? So we start our career, then the next thing we know, we shift and we have a family. So now we have to make a decision. Do we continue to work? Or do we raise our children, or do we do both, and how do we do that? So in our mind, our roles, we're taking on more roles. Then we raise our kids, and we're the authority in their life. Right? We have little ones running around, we're the authority. Then all of a sudden they turn into these teenagers, and we have to survive the teenage years, and we have to shift again because you're no longer, you and I know, you are no longer
no
the
longer
authority once they hit the teen.
exactly.
They're the authority.
I wasn't even the authority when she was in her in 1 digits,
right? And sometimes,
let alone in 2 digits,
right? And sometimes it feels like the older they get, the stupider we get to them.
I don't know. My parents still sometimes think that I'm not good enough.
Oh, but you are.
But I am.
Right.
You
So
know,
that
try.
message-
You know, that is
so
that is an unrealized. So I will probably also ask my parents to seek you as a coach. Do you have like that? No. So
Yes.
then afterwards, like now, I feel I'm in that phase where you have to start looking after your parents.
Yes. Okay.
And
so
women
which is
do
what I
the
was gonna
main
say,
care providing.
Right. So then we raise the kids, then we launch the kids. Right?
Yeah.
And then it's like if you gave up your career, now how do you transition back into your career? Right. So again, we're shifting roles.
Yeah.
Or if we don't do that, then what do we do now?
Yeah.
Right? Because now my 20 years of being a mother and raising a family identity is gone.
Yeah.
Right? Like that, it goes. So now we have to shift again in our mind, right? And then oftentimes our aging parents are waiting for us, right?
Yes.
So our roles, if you look at women in comparison to men, right? Our roles shift tremendously throughout our lives.
So I think we're glorified babysitters. We babysit our children.
Well,
then we babysit our.
We're caretakers.
Oh,
and
that's a nice way of putting it.
Yes.
So we're like
And
we babysit
care-
our husbands,
we care
our
for
boyfriends.
everybody before ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Are you okay? Are you okay? Did you eat? Did you eat? Did you? Okay.
Did I eat?
Right. And women have a really hard time with putting themselves first.
Yeah.
Right. And once the family's gone, I think that really becomes apparent because there's nobody to say, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
So now who am I?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So as we get older, and that's why I'm committed to this work also. And I think that women who have experienced this value that, right? That might be an area where accountability is needed, where they need to make changes. And they're ready to take that responsibility and work towards who they want to become or their future selves.
Yeah, absolutely. I am super interested in all the versions of my future self because sometimes when I look at my old previous self, prior version, the first time, for instance, when I was in my 30s, it was a chaotic period of time between career, childbirth, child rearing, husband rearing. It's like all between all those
we
things.
Love men.
Friends, we love friends. We love men. We love them, but still, it requires a lot of raising.
But they have a very different experience, even with as far as women have come.
So tell me, do are men seeking their mothers in their spouses? What are your views about
I think
that?
it depends. I think initially, yes, men will. It's interesting.
They'll be
I think that
interested. That
initially
is like
men
that.
will default to that.
Yeah.
I think it depends
Yeah.
on the woman.
I
Like
see.
if the woman says, "I'm not your mom,"
I'm not your mother.
right?
Yeah.
So I do love you, and I'll do these things for you, but I'm not your
That's
mom.
a J-Lo problem.
Right. So I think that men will default, and if you look at, and I don't know where this research or statistic comes from, but I've read about in relationships, right? If you look at divorce, who's the one that's leaving the marriage? The woman.
Yeah.
So men are like just kind of like go along a little bit more, I think, than women. I think as women, because there's so much of us that's giving to other people, that we're not attending to ourselves, that when the children are gone, if the marriage isn't good, right, it's probably going to end.
Yeah.
Right? Or it becomes a business partnership.
Yeah.
Right? Because
It
of the
is.
finances
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know, unless people go back and work on that, I don't know if the love is really there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at that point, if they're still looking for their mom, and
Yeah.
the woman is older and has gone through all those transitions, she's
Yeah.
tired.
She's like,
So,
dude,
yeah,
please do your own thing, and
yes,
I'll do your
exactly.
own dishes and also mine.
your dishes and mine. Thank you. Yes.
Listen, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's coaching session. This is like I am sharing my coaching session with you guys. So if you liked this coaching session, please share this video and clips of this video. And I'm going to bring Eileen back. And if you have any questions, send it to my team, and I'll see if you have like a story or you want insight. Here is Eileen, and we're gonna list
Or we
her
could
contact.
We could do a coaching session.
Oh yeah.
If somebody was willing to do that, we could do it live.
Yeah, me. Okay.
We could do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Next time, me. All right, first me, and then all my other followers. All right, guys.
Thank you.
See
Thank
you.
you for having me.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.